G'day, I'm Darren Yates, hardware writer for Australian PC User magazine, and this month we're taking a look at some of the new networking features inside Windows 7. Now, we've got a Windows 7 desktop here, and if we come and have a look at the bottom right, there's a new icon, network icon. Now, if we click on it, we're told that we're connected to a network called Network, and that we have internet access. And we're also invited to click on and open the new Network and Sharing Center. If we click on it, up comes the new network properties that you'll find if you go to the control panel and select Network and Sharing Center. What we've got here is basic information at the top talking about our network, our little test network that we've created for this, just for this video. We've got a test PC called Darren PC, which is connected to our network called Network, and that is in turn connected to the internet. Now we can get more information about the whole of our network by clicking on See Full Map. And what this does is Windows will now create a visual image of the network topology or layout. And if you have a look here, we can see that we've got two PCs, one called Darren PC, the other one called Darren Yates PC. And we have what's called a network attached storage or NAS device, which is a D-Link DNS323. It's a 2-bay or 2-drive network attached storage device that's also connected to this network. All of these three devices are connected to what Microsoft is calling a switch. That switch is also connected to what's being called a gateway, which is then connecting to the internet. In reality, our switch and gateway are basically an ADSL modem router. So it's an ADSL modem with a 4-port router or switch, which is where the term comes from here. Now, what's the difference between a switch and a router? Well, basically nothing. Those terms are used interchangeably. Now, you may have also have heard the term hub used. Now, what's the difference between them? Well, a switch and a router are one thing. A hub is different because of the way that it works. Now, all of these devices are designed to allow multiple computers to connect together to allow internet sharing and file sharing. So the difference between a hub and a switch is how they connect. And I'll give you an example. Let's, for example, say we don't have the DNS323 here. We've got two other computers connected to this, what is a hub in this case. Let's say Darren PC is going to send some files to Darren Yates PC. Now, with the hub, what would happen is that Darren PC would say, I've got files here to go to Darren Yates PC. The hub, in our example, would simply now broadcast all of that information to all of the computers on that network. So if we had an extra couple of computers down here, they would also be hearing that. Now, breaking it down, the data is sent in small chunks or what's called packets. Every packet has the information saying who it's from and where it's to go to. And what the hub does is simply spew all that information to every computer on that hub. So every computer has then got to stop and say, oh, is that information for me? That's Darren PC sending data to Darren Yates PC. Well, if I'm Joe Blogg's PC, well, then I don't want to know about it, but I still have to stop and find out what's going on. So it's basically time wasting. It's not an efficient use of the network. With a switch, however, what happens is that Darren PC says, I'm going to send data to Darren Yates PC. The switch is smart enough to know that, okay, I know where Darren Yates PC is, so I'm going to route that data to Darren Yates PC only. So that means that the other two PCs on the network don't have to hear anything, don't have to stop and waste time looking at network traffic that it's not addressed to them. So how can I give you if we make this really simple, a hub is like trying to send telephone calls over a loudhailer, whereas a switch is basically like making a telephone call. You actually are dialing. When you make a phone call, you dial up the person you want to contact. It doesn't mean every other person on the phone network has to hear that you're wanting to speak to somebody. You dial up that person and you connect to them. That's how a switch works. Now, again, a gateway, well, it's just a way of connecting to the internet, and that's what our ADSL modem does. So in this example, this is how Windows is showing our little test network. Switch and the gateway are the same, basically the one device, an ADSL modem with a 4-port router. They're basically dime a dozen, and I wouldn't be surprised if you've got one and you're using one in your home right now. So that gives us an overview of what our total network is. Even though that we're only connected and looking at Darren PC, we actually see the rest of the network as well. So if we go back, we're now back at our view. Now, if we come down to home, to the view active networks, you'll see that we're actually connected to a network called network, and it's what Microsoft is calling a home network. Now, there are basically two profiles or two setups that you can have for networking. You can have a public network, or you can have a home/business network, which is what Microsoft calls a private network. Now, with a home network, there's an extra thing you can do, and that's typically what you would use in your normal home. And a new feature that Microsoft is incorporating into Windows 7 is called Home Group. If you come over here, we have a look at our access type, means we're connected to the internet. Home Group, we're about to create one, and connections is local area connection. And it basically means that we're using effectively an Ethernet port that's built into the motherboard of our PC. Now, this PC is just a bog standard, very basic, cheap G31 Intel chipset motherboard. It's a gigabyte motherboard with an integrated Ethernet port in it, and we've got that connected to our ADSL modem as part of our test network. So we can click on that and get basic information about the network. But let's now take a look at the idea of a home group. So if we click on Ready to Create, we get a bit of information about what's going on. Now, the idea of a home group is a way of sharing files and printers with other computers that are also running Windows 7. You can stream files. It basically enables you to share media files with other Windows 7 computers without having to set up or map drives and set up all that sort of thing. Basically, Windows 7 will do it for you. The difference here also is that the home group is protected by passwords, so that you can actually set up who you want to share your files with and what they can do with them. By default, home groups are set up so that other people can only access your files. They can't change them, but you can allow other people to change them if you desire. So if we click on Tell Me More About Home Groups, you'll get basically that information here. Now, there's another... What happens is when you create that home group, you'll be able to access other people's files automatically, and they'll appear in what are called libraries, and you can share libraries, and they will turn up on your Windows Explorer as groups of files. So there'll be typically documents, videos, movies, that sort of thing, but they won't have the My in front of them. So on your PC, you'll be able to see My Documents, My Videos, My Images. When you come to Library, you'll just see Documents, Videos, Images, and they will incorporate not only your files but also files from other computers. So it's like a virtual folder of different different files. Yours plus whatever is available on your home group that you're connected to. So you've got all this information here. The other important thing to remember is that if you've got Windows 7 Starter, if you've got a netbook, or you've somehow managed to get hold of Windows 7 Home Basic, you can only join a home group. You can't create one. You need to have at least Home Premium to be able to create your own home groups, and they're only available on home networks, not on business networks. So you can find out. You can read that in your leisure. So we'll click on Create a Home Group, and you'll get you'll be able to choose what do you want to share. So the default options here are pictures, music, videos, and printers, but not documents. So you can keep your any documents you create, you can keep them private and not shared. So if we click on Next, Windows 7 is now setting up the file sharing for those particular things, not our documents, and then you'll be given this password. So what you need to do here is click on Print Password Instructions, and this will tell you what you need to do. You need to take this password and go to your other computer running Windows 7. You need to